Hello and welcome to Chillin' Solo, where I play solo modes of board games so you guys can see how they work and what they play like. And today we are going to be playing Galactic Cruise. Now, Galactic Cruise is an action selection / worker placement game where we are vying to become the new CEO of Galactic Cruise. So as usual, I'm going to do a run through of the rules of the game before we get into the playthrough. Now there will be a lot of rules, and I won't be going through every little detail of every rule. I'll go through the general idea and how the actions work and what we kind of need to do to try and score victory points. And then as we play through the game, any other little sort of rules that come up, I will explain as we play. So I'll first run through how a turn works. And the rules I'll explain right at the moment will just be how a regular multiplayer game would work. After I've gone through the general rules, I will go into how the solo mode works for the game. It doesn't affect too much how you take your regular turn. Yours will work the same as it would in a multiplayer game. So I'll just quickly run through how the solo player works after I've explained the rules of the game. The game takes place over an indeterminate number of rounds. This is the progress track over here. This will keep track of the progress of the game, and once all of this track is full up with cubes, that will trigger the end of the game, and then we will finish off the rest of the game and add up victory points at the end to see who wins. So a player's turn is broken down into 3 different phases. These phases are depicted on your personal player board here, but I will just run through those phases for you now. The first phase is advance your ships. Now, I won't explain exactly how this works right now. I'm going to come back to this later on, because how advanced ships works is that any ships that you have currently got set out on a cruise, that cruise would advance its journey, and you would gain benefits or score points depending on where they stop on their journey. At the start of the game, we don't have any ships that are in space on the cruise, so we won't be doing that at the start of the game. So I'll explain the rest of the game first, and then we'll come back to how that works. So that is the first thing you do on every turn, is that you would advance every ship that you have on a cruise. The second phase is you can do one of 3 different things. The first thing you can do is assign a worker. Now on your player board, you have 4 different workers. At the beginning of the game, we only have access to these 2 workers here. These are regular workers. These 2 workers are your expert workers, and you will need to unlock them at some point during the game if you want access to them. In order to assign a worker, you take a worker from your player board. This area of a player board is called the break room. You take a worker from there, and then you place them on the board into one of these action slots on the board. There are 6 of them, and you can place a worker on an empty action slot, and then you are able to take certain actions with that worker. The actions you can take are all dependent on where you place your worker on the board. So the board is split into 12 different actions that you can take, 2 in each section, 2 there, 2 there, 2 there, and so on and so forth. So all 12 actions. When you place your worker, you will always have access to the 2 actions that are next to the worker that you place. You will then also are able to access any actions that are connected by a development. These little tokens here are developments. There are 2 neutral ones that start on the game board, and then you have your own personal color developments as well. So you are able to access the actions in an adjacent sector as long as there is at least 1 development on the link in between those 2 sectors. Now, if you have a development of your color in that link, then there is no cost for you to access the next sector with actions in it. So if I put my worker here, I have access to these 2 actions, and because I have this development here, I also have access to these 2 actions. After you place a worker, you get to take 2 actions. So of these 4 actions, I can take 2, and I am allowed to take the same action twice if I want to. If I was to place my worker in this section, again, I'd have access to these 2 set actions because that's where my worker is. I would have access to these 2 actions still because we are connected via my development. But I now have also access to these 2 actions because there is a development in between these 2 sectors. However, if I wanted to access one of these 2 actions, I would need to pay a cost to use this development. And because this is a neutral colored token, the cost would just be paid back to the supply. In a multiplayer game, so for example, if I was in this section, again, if I wanted to access these 2 sections, I would have to pay the bank because of the neutral color. If I wanted to access these 2 actions, I would need to pay the pink player a cost to use their development. And the cost of paying to use a development is all determined by where you lie on this reputation track at the bottom here. The lower down you are, the more you have to pay. So if, for example, if we are in spaces 0 to 6 of the reputation track, it tells us here that we have to pay 2 money to whoever's development we are using. If we get up to 7 to a 14, we only have to pay 1, but if we're 15 or higher on the reputation track, it is free to use other people's development tokens. So as I said, the first thing we have an option to do is to assign a worker and take actions. So let's have a look at the 12 actions and what they do. So we'll start up here. This is the acquire blueprints action. This action allows us to acquire 2 blueprints. The supply of blueprints is right here. We have access to 5 of them. And all we do is we get to take 2 blueprints from this supply. There's no cost to it. We are just allowed to take them and add them to our personal supply of blueprints. So for example, I could just take this one, and they get added to the side of your board here for you to use later on. On the side of your board, you have space for 5 blueprints. After you've taken 2 blueprints, you slide down the rest and refill the supply. If you don't like the supply of blueprints and there's not one that you particularly want, there is a way of you to refresh the supply, but it will cost you 1 reputation in order to do so. So I would move down 1 space on the reputation track, and I could discard any number of the blueprints off the board and then refill with new ones from the supply. So that's the take blueprints action. The next action in this sector is the purchase supplies action. And this is fairly simple. You are just going to pay money to get resources, essentially. So for this action, we can pay 1 money to get 2 of any resource and 1 money to get 2 ads. And you can do 1 or both of these for the 1 action. If we look at our player board here, this is where we keep track of our resources. We have food, oxygen, and fuel. And when we pay 1 money for this, we can advance 2 of our any 2 of our resources that we choose. So we could advance food and oxygen, for example. This is where our developments are. And these developments hinder the maximum supply of our resources. So while these developments are on our board, we cannot move our resources up past those. And that's the purchase supplies action. We move over to the next sector now. The top action here is to build a development. Now, in order to build a development, we look at our developments on our player board, and each column of developments has a different cost. If we want to build a development from the leftmost column, it's going to cost us 5. The middle column costs us 6, and the right column costs us 7. Now we can pay that with money, or we can pay for it using the resources themselves, or a mixture of the two. So for example, if I wanted to build a development in the left column, I could just pay 5 money straight up to the bank, take a development and add it to the board. Or if I didn't want to use money to do it, or not all of my money at least, I could spend the particular resource of the development that I'm building. So if I wanted to build this top left development here, I could, for example, spend maybe 1 food and then 4 of my money for a total of 5 things to build that development. Whenever you're spending resources, it has to be the particular resource from the development that you are building. So after you pay for your development, you remove the development from your player board, and you're going to add it to the board here in one of 2 places. Either you're going to add it to the network here where all the actions are, or you're going to add it to the top 4 spaces up here where the technologies lie. You're allowed to put them anywhere you want. There's no cost for adding them to the board. The only restriction is you cannot add a development to a little sector where you already have a development. And again, the benefit of adding them to the network is that you are going to gain access to more actions when you place your workers out onto the board. Also, if you're the first person to add to a sector, you can cover this space here, which gives you a bonus boost in reputation. And the same thing for the technologies. If you're the first person there, there's a reputation space to get added to, and then you have unlocked access to this particular technology. Just like paying to use other people's developments for actions, you can also pay people to use their developments to access the technology that they have unlocked. I won't go through all the technologies right now, but if they come into play during the game, I'll explain what they do. So that's the builder development action. The next action we have here is to hire an expert worker. This is the space we need to go to if we want to hire our 2 expert workers. The costs for these workers are slightly different for each one. So to hire this worker on the right hand side, his cost all depends on how many developments we have built from the food and oxygen tracks in particular. It says printed on the board here, the cost for this worker is 2 money for every development from the 2 tracks that we still have left on our board. So right now, if I wanted to build this expert worker, it would cost me 2, 4, 6, 8 money to do so. So the more developments I build, not only does it give me more access to hold more resources, but it also makes my expert worker cheaper for me to hire. For this expert worker over here, his cost is all dependent on these 4 tokens right next to him here. I'll explain a bit later what these 4 tokens do, but basically this expert worker is going to cost us 3 money for every token still on our player board. So right now, if we were to try and build this worker, it costs 3, 6, 9, 12 money to buy. So it is in our interest maybe to try and get rid of these to try and make our expert worker a bit cheaper. When we buy an expert worker, we pay the money, and then the expert worker comes out here and goes into our break room ready for us to use and send out to do actions. Over to the next sector now. The top action in this sector is the action to draw agenda cards. On the left hand side of the board over here, we have our supply of agenda cards. When we take this action, we are allowed to take any 2 of these agenda cards in the supply into our hand. So I could take, for example, these 2 into my hand. We also have the option of paying 1 reputation to take the top card of the discard pile if we really wanted to do that. But that's that action. Pretty simple action. Take 2 cards into your hand, and we have a hand limit of 5 cards for our agenda cards. Now, agenda cards mainly have 2 different functions. Each agenda card has a special ability on it, and it tells us in the top right corner what action we need to be doing in order to trigger this ability. So, for example, this is extra blueprints. It tells us that in the top right that we need to be taking the acquire blueprints action. And when we do, we can play this card, and it tells us that we may take up to 3 additional blueprints, and we may refill the display after taking the first 2. So that's a way of us getting 5 blueprints in 1 turn, which is pretty powerful. Each agenda card also comes in the bottom left with a symbol of one of the 3 resources. So what we can do, instead of using the card for its ability, we can just discard this card and take the resource instead. And they're the main 2 things that you'll be doing with your agenda cards. The second action in this section is the refill agenda cards action. And this is the only way that this supply of agenda cards will refill. It does not refill automatically. So when we go here and take this action, we will get the bonus printed on any empty space of this supply. So for example, if we were to refill now, we would get the bonus here, which is 1 reputation, and here, which is 1 add, and then we would refill the supply from the deck of agenda cards. And that's that action. Moving down to the next section, the top action in this section is the gain resources action. Now this allows us to gain resources from this section of the board called the silo. We are allowed to take up to 3 of any resources, and in order to do so, we would simply just knock down the resource that we are taking 1 step for each resource we want. So I would knock the food down 1 step and increase my food 1 step, and I could do that up to 3 times. And I could do it once for oxygen as well, and maybe I want, say, another food. I would knock down that food and add that into my supply. And that's that action. Fairly simple. It's just gaining resources as long as the resources we want are available in the silo. The next action underneath is the refill the storage silo action. In order to do this, we must discard an agenda card out of our hand. So we could discard this agenda card into the discard pile, and then we choose 1 of the 3 resources, and we will completely refill it back to the top of the silo. When we do that, we will gain a reputation for doing the action, and we will gain money equal to the number of money icons that we pass as we refill in that resource. So if I was to refill the food, I would discard my agenda card, refill from 0 up to 5, gain my reputation, and then I pass through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 money icons, giving me 5 money. And that's how we refill the storage silo. On to the next sector now. This is to do with the cruises. The first action in this section is the schedule a cruise action. This is a very simple action. For this, all we would to do is move this little token here, who is our cruise consultant, and we would add him next to one of the 4 available cruises on the right hand side of the board here. Let's say we wanted to choose this cruise here. We are simply placing our cruise consultant here, and this is effectively reserving this cruise for me, and no one else will be able to access this cruise now for their ships. After we have placed our cruise worker, we then will go to our player board with these bonus tokens here on the left hand side. Choose one of them. We will activate that token and gain the benefit printed on it, and then we will flip the token face down. And we have 2 different types of tokens. We have these grey ones down in the bottom, on the bottom here, which are the ones that we need to sort of get rid of to make our expert worker cheaper. And these are just one-off bonus tokens. So for example, this bottom right one here, I could just flip this token, it would give me 4 money, flip that over, and that is my action done with my cruise consultant. These 4 brown ones in the column here are what called funding bonus upgrades. Now these will become a bit more clear what they do a little bit later, but basically they're sort of like an income and give us these bonuses more continually as the game goes on. But if we were to choose one of these tokens for this action, again, we would just gain the benefit on it. So in this case, this token right here would give us a point, and then we would flip the token face down. While it's face down, we will not have access to use that token for the funding bonus, but it's there prepped for when we're going to send a cruise out into space. So that's a schedule a cruise. You choose a cruise to reserve with your consultant, and then you flip one of your tokens face down. The action underneath then is the advertise for a cruise action. Now this section over here is called our marketing board. So that's where we're going to display our cruises and try and advertise those cruises to different customers. On the right hand side of the board here, we have different colored customers waiting to go on a cruise. When we take this advertise the cruise action, we are going to be taking certain colored customers and adding them in a queue for a particular cruise. And in doing so, we will gain little bonuses. Now, ideally, what you're trying to do is match up customers that match the colors of the different destinations on each cruise. So the cruise that I have reserved for myself here at the moment, there is one destination icon on this cruise, and it is an orange destination. So ideally, I want to bring orange customers on this cruise with me. Now, each color customer relates to the kind of holiday that they are looking for. The orange are adventurous customers. The purple are relaxing customers, and the blue are family customers. This cruise I have reserved in particular is an adventuring cruise, so we want to bring the adventuring customers on that cruise with us. But in order to do that, we would take a customer from the queue, pay the associated cost in ads. So if we want to take from this bottom section here, it's going to cost us 1 ad to take a worker. This middle sector is going to cost us 2 ads to take a worker from there. And the top section is going to cost us 3 ads to take a worker from there. We can also, if we want, if we don't like the customers that are in the queues, we can spend 4 ads and take any color customer we want from the supply. But we will spend the ad, take the customer, add it to one of the 2 slots associated with this cruise here, and then we will gain the bonuses associated with it as well. This action allows us to add 1 or 2 customers to the cruise. Let's say I've added this orange customer, but I don't have enough ads to be able to pay for this other orange customer, so I'll just pay the 1 ad and add this blue customer into the queue for this cruise. Now the bonuses we get are going to be related to how many stops we have on the cruise and what color they are associated with. So for each destination on the cruise, you're going to get 1 money multiplied by the number of customers that you have advertised for that cruise. So in this case, I have 2 workers and 1 destination, giving me 2 money. Then for each customer that you have that matches an icon on your cruise, you will get 1 reputation. So I have an orange icon on my cruise. I have 1 orange customer. That will give me 1 reputation. You don't just have to advertise for the cruises that you have reserved. You are allowed to advertise for any cruise, whether another player has reserved it or whether it has not been reserved at all. It doesn't matter, you are allowed to advertise for any cruise. So I could have, for example, advertised these 2 customers to come down to this cruise. This cruise has 3 different destination icons, a blue, a purple, and an orange. So if I were to do that, this would have got me 6 money, because we have 3 different destinations multiplied by the 2 customers for 6 money. And then there is a blue destination and an orange destination, which match both of my customers, meaning we would have got 2 reputation as well. And that is the advertise for a cruise action. The last 2 actions then, the first one up here is the acquire a new ship action. We have a supply of ships right here. There are 4 combinations of an engine and cockpit. And for this action, we simply choose one of the combinations and add it to our personal supply of ships. So let's say, for example, I wanted this combination of cockpit and engine. I would add them to my supply of ships over here. The engine then gives you an immediate benefit that you get to take. In this case, it gives me 2 resources and 1 money. I take those things and I flip the engine over, say that I've claimed them, and that is my action done. At the start of the game, you are only allowed access to 3 ships, but you are possibly able to unlock a 4th ship depending on what you'll do with certain actions. So that's the acquire ship action, and then the final action here is the build ship segments action. Now this is how we add different segments to our ship to make it more enticing to customers. And this is why we have acquired blueprints in order to do so. So for this action, we can build up to 2 different segments. So we could, if we wanted to, take a blueprint from our supply here, pay the cost on the left hand side in money. In this case, for this tile, it costs 2 money. I pay that money, I flip it over, and then I add it into my ship, moving my cockpit up a little bit and sliding that into there like that. I could then also pay the money for this blueprint, flip it over, add it to my ship. Each ship can hold a maximum of 3 segments, and you will notice as you build segments, there are little icons on the top and bottom of each segment. Once you have connected both of those icons, it makes a little cabin for your customers to be able to go into. So right now, having built 2 segments, I only have 1 cabin, so I will only be able to take 1 customer on a cruise if I was to launch this ship. So that's all the actions that you can take. So when you place a worker, you get to do 2 actions. Again, they could be the same 2 actions if you want. You get to do 2 actions, and then you will go on to the 3rd phase of your turn. So that is one of the 3 things that you can do for your 2nd phase of a turn, is to place a worker and do 2 actions. The second thing you can do on your turn in the 2nd phase is that you can launch a ship. And in order to do that, what we will do is we will take our worker and add him to this section of our board over here, which is kind of like a countdown to launching a ship onto a cruise. This is a countdown from 5 to 0, and in each section there is something that you will do to prep your ship ready to go into space on a cruise. So the first thing you do here is that you will take the cruise that you have reserved. So I would take this cruise tile, add it to the top of my ship here. I would return my consultant back to his space up there, and then I would bring any customers that I have advertised for this cruise and add them into my ship if I have space for them. Now, I've only built a ship that has 1 cabin, so I'm only allowed to bring 1 of these customers over into my ship. If I have customers that were advertised for this cruise that I am not able to fit into my ship, they will return to the top of the queue, and I will lose reputation for it. We then move on to the next step, which is that we are going to add a cube from our personal supply of our personal player color onto the progress track. Now, the progress track has 3 different sort of spaces, 1, 2, and 3. We're always going to fill up number 1 before we move on to number 2, and then before we move on to number 3. So I would take my cube from my personal supply, add it to one of the sections on number 1, and that's that section done. And this is what is advancing the game. We then move on to the next step, which is that we need to pay out the resources for us to be able to go on this cruise. And the cost of resources is that you need to pay food equal to the number of customers you have on the cruise plus one. Now the plus one will be for your pilot, who is going to be added to the ship later on. So you're going to pay one food for every customer plus one for your pilot. You will need to pay oxygen equal to the number of segments that you have built. So in this case, if I was to send this ship on a cruise, I would have to pay 2 oxygen because I have 2 segments. The cockpit and the engine do not count towards that total. And then the third resource we have to pay is fuel. And the cost for that fuel is all dependent on the cruise you're taking, and it is printed in the top left of that cruise. So this cruise will cost me 2 fuel. Now again, those resources are paid for from your personal resource supply. However, if you don't have enough resources to be able to pay for it, so for example, I needed to pay 2 food. I have 1 customer and 1 for my pilot, so I'd pay my 2 food. I have 2 segments, so I'd pay 2 oxygen, but I need to pay 2 fuel, and I only have 1 fuel. Now again, we'll pay the 1 from this supply. We could, if we had the right cards in our hand, discard them for the resources. In this case, I could discard this one for food, but that's not going to help me towards the fuel. The other option we have is we can use our reputation track to get resources, money, and ads. So let's say, for example, I was this far up the reputation track. Along the bottom of the track are lots of different bonuses, all to do with money, resources, and ads. If at any point I want to gain any of these resources, I can do so by losing the reputation. However, I can only choose one of those type of things to gain. So for example, if I wanted to gain resources, because I need more fuel, I would have to choose resources, and then I can lose as much reputation as I want. And for every resource icon that I pass as I move my reputation down, I will gain 1 resource. So me being on space 13 here, if I was to lose reputation down to 7, I've passed 1, 2, 3 resource icons, so I can give myself 3 resources. I'll give myself a fuel, an oxygen, and a food, and now I have 2 fuel, which is enough for me to be able to pay for that cruise. So that's that step. Then we move on to the next step, which is we are going to score points for our cockpit. Now every cockpit comes with some sort of scoring condition. Our starter ships all come with the same scoring condition, which is we are going to score 1 point for every segment that we have built in all of our ships put together. So right now I would score this cockpit, it would just score me 2 points because I've only built 2 segments. After I have scored that cockpit, I will then flip it over. And that's that part of the countdown complete. The point of flipping these tiles over is that while they are not unflipped, they are going to be worth minus 5 points at the end of the game. So ideally we want to flip these cockpits over to negate that minus 5 points. But we will also score the cockpit itself. Now in the future, if I was to send this ship onto another cruise, I would still gain the points from this cockpit, but it wouldn't flip over because I've already flipped it once. The next step of the cockpit is to add the bonus token that you had flipped over when you sent your consultant out to reserve a cruise. That token gets added to your engine of your ship. So now this has left our player board, making this expert worker cheaper. If we had used one of these brown ones and added it to the engine, it has now essentially revealed a better version of the token that we have just gotten rid of. This token, when we gain the bonus from it, gives us 1 resource. Now we've uncovered the space. Every time we activate this, it'll give us 2 resources instead. So that's the benefit of getting rid of these upgrade tiles. Then for the last step, we will just add our worker into the cockpit as a captain, and then we would refill this supply with a new cruise. And that's the launch the ship action. Now, very quickly, before we go on to the last action we can do in phase 2, now that we have a cruise set up and launched into space, we're going to go back to phase 1 of our turn, which is the advance the ship phase, and see how that works. So at the start of your turn, you will always, if you have active cruises, advance those cruises. Now, to do so, you will simply take your pilot, follow the trail until you reach the next space along the trail of the cruise. Each cruise comes with 3 different possible icons that you can have. We have this starry space icon, which is a day in space. So there's not a destination, we are just currently flying through space, and so when we go here, the customers are going to take advantage of the different segments that we have built into our ship. And how this works is that every customer on our ship is going to visit the segments that match their particular color, and they will give us a bonus depending on how the bonus tiles have been set out up here in the top right of our board. So orange customers are going to give us a bonus of 1 money, purple customers are going to give us a bonus of any 1 resource, and blue customers are going to give us a bonus of 1 ad. However, if we look at this ship here, I have not built it in a way that will satisfy the orange customers. So I have a purple segment and a blue segment. So my orange customer will not give me any bonuses because I don't have any segments on the ship for him. However, if I had, for example, taken a blue customer on this cruise with me, he would go to this ice cream emporium, and that would give me 1 ad because it is a blue customer that is using that room. And if I had multiple customers on the ship, each customer would do that. And if I had multiple of 1 color room, again, the customer would go to every single room that matches their color. So if I had 2 blue segments in this ship, I would get 2 ads because this 1 customer would visit both rooms, buying an ad for each room. The next kind of stop along the cruise is a destination, which is always a different colored icon associated with one of the 3 different customer colors. In this case, we have reached an orange destination. When we reach the destination, we will take the upgrade token that we placed onto our engine and add it into one of the 3 sections of the particular destination that we are going to. So in our player board, we have a section for orange, purple, and blue destinations. So we are visiting right now an orange destination. We can place our upgrade token into one of the 3 slots here, and that will unlock a benefit or bonus for us going forward. For example, this one I've just slotted in here now allows me to build up to 4 ships, and I can build up to 4 segments in each of those ships. After we have placed our token, we can then pay ads to entice our customers to go on an excursion at the destination that we have visited. The cost to do that is it's going to cost 1 ad to pay for the customer whose color matches the destination. So for this orange customer, I would only have to pay 1 ad to entice him on the excursion. But if I had a different color customers in my ship, I have to pay 2 ads for each of those customers. And when we do that, we are going to score points. And the points are different depending on how many upgrade tokens we have put into this section. So right now, if I was to entice this customer onto this excursion, I would score 3 points plus 1 point for every token. So in this case, 4 points multiplied by the number of customers that I paid for. So if I paid the 1 ad for this person, it would score me 4 points multiplied by the 1 customer for 4 points. If I had 2 customers on my ship, I would pay 1 ad for the orange worker, 2 ads for the blue worker, and that would score me 4 points multiplied by the 2 customers for 8 points. And that's how the different destinations work. The final space along the track is the return home space, and we simply, when we go there, we would simply return our customers to the supply. Our worker would come back to our break room, and the cruise would go back to, well, would be discarded out of the game, but we'll just put it back there for now. And that's how we advance our ships at the beginning of our turn. So back to phase 2 of a player's turn. Again, there were 3 different things. The first one was to assign a worker, take actions. The second one was to launch a ship. The third thing you can do on your turn is to call a meeting. Now, what calling a meeting is basically a way for us to return all the workers that we have on the board back to our break room. So if we did have all of our workers on the board and it came to our turn, we would be forced to call a meeting because we have no workers to place onto the board to do actions. We have no workers to launch a ship. We are forced to take the call a meeting action. When we take the call a meeting action, we will simply return all of our workers from the board back into the break room. Anytime during the game you add a worker into your break room, you will take one of the 4 bonuses here. If we were taking the call a meeting action now, we would return this expert worker, gain one of these bonuses. So I could take a resource, I would return this worker, gain another bonus, and return this worker, gaining another bonus. And like I said, that happens any time that a worker gets added to the break room. That would include when we purchase a expert worker, it gets added into our break room, and that will give us a bonus from these tokens. After we've returned our workers for the call a meeting action, we are then allowed to take one action from the board as long as it is adjacent to one of our developments. So when I take this call a meeting action, I return my workers, and then I could take any one of these 4 actions because these are the ones that are connected to my development. And that's the third thing that you can do in phase 2 of a player's turn. After you've done one of those 3 things, we then move on to phase 3, which is to check to see if we've completed one of the company goals, which is what this section of the board is all about. So in every game, we have 3 different company goals, and we are trying to achieve those in order to add our cubes to the progress track. So the 3 goals for this game are, first one is that we need to build a certain number of developments. Now these little tokens here indicate how many of those things that we need to do. So this first goal here tells us that we need to build 6 developments. Once we have built 6 developments, we will take our cube associated with that goal and add it into the progress track. After we have completed that goal, this token then would move up to the next space, making it a bit more difficult for others to be able to complete that goal. So this goes from 6 developments up to 7 developments. And we're starting in the middle section of each of these columns because we're playing a solo game, which is effectively a 2-player game. And that's all we're doing is we will assess whether we have achieved one of these goals, take the cube, add it to the progress track, and move the marker. The 3 goals we have in the game are build a certain number of upgrades, have a certain number of sets of each color icon for the customers in our segments, in our ships. So every set of one of each color counts towards that goal, and we are trying to get 2 sets at the start of the game at least. And then the 3rd goal is to have 1 upgrade token in a certain number of different destinations. So right now we need 2 tokens in 2 different destinations. We have 1 in orange right now. If we can get 1 in blue or purple, we would be able to activate this goal. The last thing to talk about then is the progress track itself. Adding cubes not only advances the game, but it helps us score points at the same time. So once a section of the progress track is filled up with cubes, we're going to go into a mini scoring section, which is called an annual general meeting. And this is where we're going to assess how each player has done in progressing the company itself and score points based on that. So how this works is essentially you're going to add up the number of cubes that you have in section 1 and multiply it by the number of visible wings that you have on your row. So right now, this would score, I have 2 blue cubes in there and 1 wing showing. So that will score me 2 points. The pink player has 1 cube and 1 wing icon, scoring them 1 point. However, if you are the highest on the reputation track, you will also get effectively +1 to your cubes. So I am the highest on this reputation track. So I will get 2 cubes for that, +1 cube because I am the highest on the reputation track. Multiply that by my 1 wing icon, giving me 3 points. And then after we've done that, then we will move on to section 2 of the progress track. So any cubes that we add will now get added into section 2. Once that's filled up, we'll do another annual general meeting. Then we'll go into section 3. Once that's filled up, that'll trigger the end of the game. There'll be a few extra little things that we do before we score the annual general meeting, and then that'll be game over. And that's pretty much everything you need to know to be able to start a game of Galactic Cruise. We will have a quick look now at how the solo player works, and then we will be able to get into our playthrough. So in solo mode, we will go back and forth between taking turns between us and the solo player, who in this game is called Rachel. And when it's Rachel's turn, all we're going to do is flip a card from this deck of cards, and it'll tell us what actions they're going to try to do. So just put their deck of cards on the board here, because that's where I had space to keep them. But basically, we're just going to flip a card on their turn, and then each card comes with 2 different actions. It's always going to try to do the top action first. If it can't do the top action, it's going to do the bottom action instead. Then sometimes, depending on what the action they're taking, if they're interacting with certain things on the board, the back of the card then that's on top of the deck is going to sort of indicate what they're going to be interacting with. For example, after we flip the first card, we always then will look at the top card of the deck to see where they are going to place a worker onto the board. So in this case, they want to place a worker in the top left sector of the board. They would take a worker from their board here. Now, the solo player, Rachel, comes with a break room card rather than using the break room from the player board. They use a card depending on the difficulty that you want to be playing in. It's just a way of reminding us what workers they have available and whether they have sort of special abilities or not, depending on your difficulty. We take a worker from there, add them to the sector indicated on the back of the card, which is going there, and then they'll take an action. Now, on our turns, we always take 2 actions, and Rachel will always take at least 1 action, possibly take a second action, depending on where they place their worker. So in this case, the action that they want to take first is taking resources from the silo action. So they would do that action, and then we would check to see if they place their worker in the space that is related to the take a silo action. So in this case, their worker has been placed up here, which is not in the same sector as the gain resources from the silo action, which is down here. So they would only do 1 action. They will only get the bonus action if they place their worker in the exact space where that action is related to, or if they placed it into a sector that is connected to that action via one of their developments. So if the worker was placed here, for example, they would take that action, then because they are connected to that particular action via their development, they will then flip a card and take a second action. After they've done their action, we will then again also check to see if they've completed the company goals. However, for solo, Rachel has her own specific 3 company goals that she is trying to achieve. And these are indicated by these tokens I've placed out onto the table and player board. So one of hers is to build developments, which is similar to one of our goals. When Rachel builds her development, she always builds from left to right, top to bottom. Once she builds a development that is underneath this token, she is considered to have completed the goal associated with that. She will move her cube from that associated goal to the track and advance this token if needs be. The second goal that she has is to build a certain number of segments. So once she's built a certain number of segments, she'll have completed this token again and again, move her cube and advance the token if needs be. The third one is that she needs to have launched a certain number of different ships. Now, where these tokens are and the number of things that she needs to do for these tokens is all determined on the difficulty that you want to play. Now, in today's game, I'm going to play on the medium difficulty. So once Rachel has built this development, she'll get it. Once they've built 6 segments, they can complete this goal. And once they've launched 3 different ships, they're going to achieve that goal. And that's basically how a turn for Rachel works. We flip a card, do 1 or 2 actions depending on whether they're able to do the second action or not. Check to see if they've completed a goal. And also we would have advanced any cruises that they've had at the beginning of their turn if they needed to do that as well. If, say, Rachel has no workers on her break room, she again is forced to call a meeting action like we would be. Rachel will never voluntarily call the meeting action before her break room is empty, whereas we could, if we wanted to, call a meeting even before we've used all of our workers out of our break room. But she will recall her workers, add them back into a break room, again getting the bonuses along with it, just as we do. However, Rachel does not gather resources and stuff during her turn, which is why you may notice she doesn't have any resource markers on her player board. She doesn't need to gather any of those resources. So every time she takes a bonus, she will always be taking the bonus that gives points, essentially. So she will get 1 point for every worker that she returns to her break room. And that's pretty much how the solo mode works. Fairly simple. You're just going to flip a card, do what it says. At the end of the game, we'll see who has the most points and who's the winner of the game. So hopefully that's enough for you to understand the game. We're going to get into a playthrough now. So if you just give me a couple of seconds, I'm going to reset everything and prep ready to start a new game, and I will see you in just a second. Hello, welcome back, and I'm all set up ready to go for a playthrough of Galactic Cruise. Now I've given myself all the starting resources and stuff that we have for the start of the game. Every player has the same starting resources. We always start with 5 money, which I'm keeping on my player board here, and 2 ads. Each player then, in reverse turn order, is also able to add a development token to the board in the network, which we have done here. So Rachel put hers out first, which was determined by the top card of her deck. We look at the numbers on the bottom of that card and it tells us where we want to try and put a development. We always look at the left number first to try and put it in that space. If we're not able to, then we look at the right number. In this case, they wanted to place it in space 6, starting from the top left. We go clockwise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is why they've put theirs there. And then I chose to put my development there. We also then are able to draft a blueprint from the supply there. Rachel doesn't draft blueprints because she doesn't keep them from there. She instead just discards one of them, and then I have less to choose from when I drafted. But the one I chose to draft is the Ice Cream Emporium here, which is a family segment. Every player is then also dealt 1 agenda card to start the game with. So we have been dealt the immediate installation card, which we can use when we take the acquire ships action, and it tells us that we can choose a non-paired cockpit and engine, and then we may build 2 segments into that ship. So we're allowed to take a ship from here. We're allowed to essentially take 2 different cockpits and engines. So I could take this engine and this cockpit, for example, if I wanted to. And then after I've acquired it, I could then immediately build 2 segments into my ship. So that's quite a nice little card there. So in a solo game, we always go first. So let's get into it. So the first thing we do on a player's turn is we advance cruises, but we have no cruises out at the minute, so we don't do that. Then we do one of the 3 things: assign a worker, launch a ship, or call a meeting. We're not going to be able to launch a ship because we have no ships ready to go. We have no crews reserved, and we have no workers to call back for a meeting, so we're going to be placing a worker out. And the reason I put my development up here is because it gives me access to the blueprints action, which is quite good early on to try and get access to the blueprints to add to my ship. And it gives me access to the development action, so I can add more developments onto the board if I feel I need to. Now I'm thinking, since I have a blue blueprint to start with, and there's a couple of blues in the supply, I may look at reserving the blue cruise a bit later on, so maybe I'll build one ship to be a family ship. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my workers, I'm going to add it to this section here, and then I get to take 2 actions. The first action I'm going to take is take the blueprints action. I'm going to take both of these blue blueprints there, the family blueprints. And then after I take the blueprints, I refill with 2 new blueprints. That's my first action done. My second action then, I'm going to use this action because I can use it using my development, and I'm going to build another development. So I'm going to spend 5. I'm going to spend 5 of my money out into the bank, and I'm going to remove. Actually, let's remove the one from the food. Remove a development, and I can add it either to the network or I can add it to one of the technologies. And I think I'm going to add it to a technology right now. I'm going to add it to this one here. So this is the space elevator, and now I've unlocked this technology. It says that all launches require 1 fewer fuel, so just makes launching my ships a bit easier. And I added it onto that space there, which gives me 1 reputation. And that's my turn done. I would then go on to check to see if I've completed any goals, which I haven't. And that's my turn finished. And then we're going to move over to Rachel. Rachel would advance her cruises if she could, but there are none. So we're just going to flip over the top card of her deck and see what actions she wants to take. The first action she wants to take is the advertise for a cruise action. So the first thing she's going to do is select one of these cruises based on the number on the back of the card. So the left number in here is 1. So she is going to be choosing cruise number 1. So this is the cruise that she wants to advertise for. And she is going to add 2 guests to that cruise. If this cruise already had 1 or more guests on it already, she would just move down to the next available cruise to advertise for. She was always trying to add 2 customers to a cruise. But Rachel is always going to add customers that match icons on the cruise. And she is always going to take from the lowest space in the queue if available, going upwards until she can add the correct customers in. So for this cruise, it's a purple icon. So she's going to look at the bottom section first for a purple customer. There are none. So she goes up to the next one. There's a purple customer there. They get added into there. Then up to the third one for this second purple customer. If there were no purple customers in here to be able to add to that cruise, we would essentially go to the supply and take one out of there instead. She always is going to add 2 customers, and they're always going to match the symbols on that cruise. And in doing so, because she's got 2 customers that match the symbol in the cruise, she's going to gain 2 reputation. We'll put her reputation up to... Oh, sorry, I forgot to add the worker onto the board. For the worker, she wants to place the worker in the top left section of the board. Now, this is where my worker is. This is something I didn't explain in the rules. You are allowed to put your worker where another person is, but in doing so, you'll bump their worker and they return to the break room for that player. So she has given me my worker back. They go into my break room, which allows me to activate one of the income bonuses here. And I think I'm going to take an ad for that bonus. Get an extra ad in there. So she's done her one action. That we then check to see if her action matches the space where her worker is or a connected space. So they took the advertise action, which is down here, which isn't connected to where her worker is. So she is not going to take a second action. Then we check to see if she's completed any of her goals, which she hasn't. So her turn is over, back to us. Now you may have noticed that on the board there are these 2 green workers here. And because we're playing solo mode, which is effectively like a 2-player game, we have sort of dummy workers added to the board to make it a bit more difficult and clog up the board a bit more. So we bump workers a bit more often and things like that. Okay, one thing I'm going to do next is I'm going to put the worker up here because I want to take these actions. So by going here, I have access to these actions with my development. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pay for some resources. I'm going to pay 2 money. My first money is to get any 2 resources I want. And my second money will give me 2 ads. So I'm going to gain 2 resources. I don't necessarily need the fuel. I'm going to gain 1 food and 1 oxygen. And then I get 2 ads as well. And then I'm going to take the blueprints action and get 2 more blueprints, and that'll fill up my supply. But I think I'm going to take this space carts here because that gives me access to a blue and an orange icon there. And then the second one, I think, might take another orange. No, we'll take a purple. We'll take a purple one because one of our goals for the company is to get sets of all the colors. So we'll take a purple one for now. And then we'll see how we want to build our ships in a bit. So that's 2 actions for me. No goals completed yet, so that's the end of our turn. On to Rachel. No ships to advance. So we're going to flip the card. Flip that card, see where she wants to put her worker, which is in the top right segment. She's going to the top right segment here. Now this will bump this neutral worker, and the neutral worker will just move clockwise until it reaches the next space. An empty space, it just stays there. If it belonged to somebody else, it would have bumped them off. So the action that she wants to do is to launch a ship. The ship that she wants to launch is a ship that is got 2 or more segments in it. But right now she doesn't have a ship that has 2 or more segments in it, so she's not able to do the launch a ship action. So she goes to the next action down, which is the build segments action. Now in order to do this, we look at the numbering system on the top of the card of the deck. The left number is 3. Oh, we didn't refill the blueprints actually. Let's do that quickly. So she's going to take the 3rd blueprint down in this column. So 1, 2, 3, she takes this blueprint, but she needs to she always takes 2 blueprints. So she takes the one underneath the one she chose, and these get immediately built into her ship. She doesn't have a supply of blueprints, so she's going to immediately build these into her ship there. 1 and 2. And that's her action done. Quite simple. So we'll refill the blueprints from the supply. And we check to see if the action she took is adjacent or on the action the space that she placed her worker. She placed her worker here, which is not where the related action is, so she doesn't get a second action this turn. And she's not completed any of her goals yet, so back over to us. No ships to advance. I think what we want to do now is go and reserve a cruise. So we're going to go here. We're going to reserve a cruise with our consultant. We're going to take the blue one because we've got quite a lot of blue segments here. By doing so, we get to flip one of our tiles here. So do we want to flip one of our bonuses? I think we might do one of our break bonuses here so we can get a bit more things out of it. Let's take the money one. So we get to activate the tile itself, so we get 1 money anyway. And then we're going to flip this tile face down. So we don't have access to that anymore, but once we launch our ship, we get access to the upgraded part of it instead. So that was our first action. Second action, then we are going to advertise our cruise. So we're doing a family cruise, so we want blue customers. So I'm going to pay 1 ad to bring this customer over, and then I'm going to play 3 ads, 1, 2, 3, to bring this customer from the top of the queue into there. So first of all, we see how many destinations there are. There's 1 destination multiplied by the number of customers. That's 2. That gives me 2 money. And then we see how many of those workers match the color of the destination. So they both match. So that's going to give me 2 reputation. Okay, that is my second action. No goals completed yet. So that's the end of my turn. Over to Rachel. No cruises to advance for Rachel. We have no workers left in her break room, so she's going to be doing the recall a meeting action. Call a meeting action. So she's going to return both of her workers back to the break room, activating the bonuses for both of them, which is going to be 2 points because she always takes the points option there. So she gets 2 points. Because we're playing a medium difficulty, she doesn't get the bonus action associated with the call a meeting action. She just returns her workers and gets the bonuses from it. Again, no goals completed for her yet, so that's her turn finished. Now it's over to us. Again, we have no workers in the break room either, so we're going to have to return both of ours, and we get bonuses for both of them. We're going to take we'll take 1 ad at least. Do we want a resource as well? We're going to need the resources when we launch our ship, but we could just get the resources later on. Yeah, I think we'll just take another ad. We'll take another ad. So 2 workers, we get 2 bonuses. We took the 2 ads for that. And then we get to take an action that is adjacent to one of our developments. So we can take blueprints, get resources, build an upgrade, or hire a worker. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to build a development. So I'm going to spend 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Do I want to build this one, or do I want to pay 6 to build one of these? No, we'll just build that one for 5. We'll spend the 5 money. And we'll build this development. We're going to put it out onto the network. We'll put it here. It gives us a reputation for that, and now we have access to sort of these 2 connected there, which is quite nice. That's the end of our turn. No goals have been complete yet. We've built 3 developments out of the possible 6 for that one, so we're halfway to that goal. But that's that. Over to Rachel's turn. So again, no ships to advance. So we're going to flip over her card. See where she wants to place her worker, which is the top right segment, and she's going there. And then the first action she wants to take is the build segments action. So looking at the number system, she's going to interact with the third one. So she's going to get 1, 2, 3, this one, and add them both to ships. So she adds the first one to this ship here. And now this ship is full with 3 segments. She is going to This is now when she acquires a new ship. She doesn't have an action associated with this in her deck. She always acquires a new ship when she needs to add a new segment into a ship that she doesn't already have. So again, we look at the number system. She wants the 3rd ship down. So she's going to go 1, 2, 3. She's taking this ship, flipping that, and adding her segment into that ship. Now, she doesn't always get the bonuses from the engine. She will only get them if they give her points ultimately, because some of them give resources and things, so that Rachel doesn't get that. However, this one gives them access to 2 more bonuses, income bonuses for this, which will give her points. So she gets 2 points for taking that particular engine. We're on 9 points, and then we're going to refill this ship segment there. And she's done her action. We check to see if it's connected to her for a second bonus action, but it's not. It's down there, so no second action for Rachel. And no goals completed quite yet. She's very close to finishing this one though. We might want to try and get our goals completed soon as well. I'd like to get a bit more money so we can build some segments. So let's refill this blueprint section first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this worker here, and I'm going to take the gain resources from the silo action because I'm connected with my development, and I want to take, I get to take 3 things. I want to take 2 fuel, bring me up to 3 fuel, and I will take an oxygen as well. Take an oxygen. That's that action done. Then for my second action, I'm going to do this action here, which means I have to discard an agenda card, which is okay. And I get to refill one of the resources. I'm going to refill the fuel resource, giving me a reputation for doing so. And I passed 5 money icons, so I get 5 money for that. And again, I've not completed any goals, so that's the end of my turn. Over to Rachel. We'll flip a card for her. Her worker's going into the bottom left section, which is going to bump out this green worker, moving them clockwise up to there. They want to take the draw agenda cards action. Again, we're going to do the number system to see which card she's going to take. The first number on there is a 6, so he wants to do 6, but there's only 4 cards here. So what we do instead is look at the second number on the card, which is a 3. So she's going to interact with 1, 2, 3. She's going to take this card, discard it because she doesn't draw cards for herself, and the one below it as well, discards that one. And that's her action complete. She didn't go to the associated action space. She went to the bottom left, and the associated action space is in the top right, so she doesn't get a bonus second action. Now, because she's done that, that's kind of made up my mind for my action. Now, I'm going to bump her worker off her space there. So she goes back there, giving her a point. Now, I'm going to take the draw 2 agenda cards action. So I'm going to draw these 2 remaining agenda cards. And then for my second action, I'm going to refill them. So when I refill them, I get bonuses of all the empty spaces. So I'm going to get a reputation. I'm going to get an ad. I'm going to get a money. And I'm going to get a resource. I'm full on resources now. And then I refill the agenda cards. Okay, so I've placed my worker, done my 2 actions, no goal completed. That's the end of my turn. On to Rachel's turn. She still has a worker now that we bumped one back, so we'll flip a card. She is going to send her worker to the top middle section there. What she is going to do is take the top leftmost development from her board. She's going to add it to a technology space using the number system again. So she's looking for space 2. We got work from left to right for this. She's looking at technology number 2, which is this one, and she's going to place it there and gain reputation for it. And she will always try and access spaces with a reputation. So if this space was full, she would instead move to the next space and get the reputation from there. If there's no reputation available, then she would have gone to the space that she could have gone to. We check to see if the worker she placed is associated with that action. So she placed her worker here, and this is the space with the build a develop action. So she's going to take a bonus second action. Her second action has to be to call a meeting because she has no workers. So she's going to recall both of her workers. Take the bonuses of 2 points, putting her up to 12 points. Okay, so over to us. We want to start building our ships, I think. Well, actually, before we do that, we have to recall our workers because we don't got anybody left on the board. So we're going to build these, bring these people back, get 2 bonuses from that. Let's take, let's take 2 ads, I suppose, since we can't get money and we can't get resources because we're full. I don't think we want to take points at this point in the game. And then we get to take one of these actions. So, oh no, I could take these actions as well, couldn't I? Because I've got this development. Because I don't really want to take any of those actions. What I think I might do is actually take this action here to discard a card and refill the silo. I'm going to discard this one that lets me use money instead of resources when launching a ship. I don't think I'm going to use that. I'll discard that, refill the oxygen to max, which gives me a reputation, but then I also pass 4 icons there, so I get 4 money as well. So I got a lot of money now I can spend to build some segments on my ship. And that's my turn done. Over to Rachel. We'll flip a card because she has workers to send out. She's sending her worker to the bottom middle section, which is there. And the first action she's trying to do is launch a ship, and she wants to launch a ship that has 3 or more segments. But she has, sorry, that's not me. This is her here. She does have a ship that has 3 or more segments. So she is going to launch it. So first of all, we're going to look to see what cruise she wants. So she's going to use the numbering system to find the cruise. So the first number is number 5. We only have 4 cruises, so we're not going to be able to do that. So we'll move on to the second number, which is 2. So she's going to take cruise number 2, take that, add it to the top of her ship there. And this crew had no pre-sold tickets for advertising. So what you are able to do when you go on a cruise or launch a ship is you can do last-minute sales essentially and get customers in who are in the queue waiting to go on a cruise. So because she's going on an orange cruise, she's going to take both of these orange workers and customers and add them onto her ship because she has 2 cabins spaces for them. So the next thing she's going to do is add one of her cubes onto the progress track. She's then going to pay her resources, but for launching her ship, she's only going to pay resources in fuel. So what we're going to do is look at the available food that she would have in regards to the number of developments she's uncovered. So she's got access to 2 fuel essentially. And we see the cost of her cruise, which is 2, so she is able to pay for it. So that is essentially fine. If she didn't have enough space on here to pay for the cruise, she would lose reputation to try and gain the extra sort of resources in order to do so. Then she's going to score the cockpit. In this case, it's 1 point for every segment that she's built so far, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's across all ships. So she's going to score 4 points for that, giving her 16. And then she's going to flip that cockpit over so that it's not worth -5 points at the end of the game anymore. Then she's going to flip one of the upgrade tokens and add it to her ship. Now, when it comes to Rachel's, she will always go for the grey tokens first to make her worker cheaper. So it doesn't matter which one we flip over, she's just going to flip it over and add it to her engine there. She doesn't get the bonuses associated with that token. Then she's going to add her worker into the cockpit ready to go. And then we're going to refill the cruise supply now, which will also add new customers into the queue. So what happens when we add a new cruise is we're going to take one from the supply, add it into this space, and we'll look to see what that cruise has provided us. So first of all, we will look at what destination is on that cruise, in this case purple. Then if there were any purple customers left in the queue, they would all advance down 1 space, making it cheaper for those customers to get added into the cruises. But there are no purples in the queue, so we're just going to add new guests instead. And the number of new guests is equal to the number of guests that went on the cruise that had just launched. So Rachel took 2 guests with her, so we're going to add 2 new customers to the queue. The color of those customers all depends on the color of the destinations on the cruise that was just revealed. So in this case, it's just purple. So we're going to take 2 purple customers from the supply, and they will get added to the back of the queue essentially. So the top section of the queue there. And that is her action done. She's launched. This is not associated. She didn't place her worker onto the network, so that's not associated with any action here. So she's never going to get a bonus action when she launches her ship, because we don't get. When we launch our ship, we only get 1 action as well. So that's how that works. So she's launched her ship. That's her turn finished. No goal completed. So back over to us. Right. So we want to build some segments. So let's add our worker here to this section. We can build 2 segments. So we're going to spend 3 to build the shopping hub. So we're going to spend 1, 2, 3 money. We're going to add the shopping hub into this ship here. And then we're going to pay 2 more, and we're going to build Pizza World and add that into the ship as well. Second action then, I could build some more segments, or I could take a ship. I think I'm going to take another ship, and then I could build some more segments on a later turn. Maybe I'll take this one, which is scores me 4 points for every different ship I've launched, but I can just launch that last and score the most maximum points from it. So I get the bonus from the engines I just got, which lets me draw a card from the agenda row. What do I want from up here? I think I'm going to take early bird. It says, when placing my worker, if it is my only worker on the board, I can cash this in for 4 money. Just a nice way of getting money. So that's quite nice. And then I also get a money from the engine itself as well. So I'll flip that over because I've got the bonuses and I get money from that. I've done my 2 actions. I built 2 segments and built quite a new ship. Let's refill the ship segment. We have not reached any goals yet, so let's go over to Rachel. Rachel, first of all, now she has a cruise, she's going to advance her cruise. So she moves her pilot into there, and she is spending a day in space. And how a day in space works for Rachel is she's just simply going to gain 1 reputation for every customer that she has on her ship. So she's going to gain 2 reputation because she has 2 guests. And that's a day in space for her. Now on to her regular action. She has no workers, so she's going to have to call a meeting. So she's only going to call the 1 worker back because the other one is currently flying in space. So she'll call that worker back, gain the bonus for it for a point. And she doesn't get the bonus action, so that's her turn finished. No goals completed yet. So back over to us. So what we're going to do is, I think we're going to go here. We're going to pay, because I'm this far up on the reputation track, it only cost me 1 money to use somebody else's development. So I'm going to pay 1 money to gain access to these actions. I'm going to build 2 more segments. I have 6. I'm going to spend 2 of it to build the ice cream emporium and then 3 of it to build the space cart. So that's 5 altogether. So I'll spend my 5. The ice cream emporium is going to go into my all family ship. And then my my space carts are going to go into that new ship there. I've got 1 blue and 1 orange, which is part way to completing that middle goal there. So that's that action. My second action then, yeah, I'll probably just acquire a new ship. What's the new ship that came out? That is going to give me 2 points for every 3 reputation I have. I have a decent a reputation at the minute. Or maybe I just get the one that gives me points for all my... Yeah, I'm going to take this one. So this is the one that gives me points for every ship I have that has 3 or more segments in it. As a bonus for my engine, I'm going to get a card and an income bonus. So I'm going to take another card, which I'm going to take the Marketing Blitz, which is a way of me getting... more ads. I also get to activate one of my income bonuses, sorry, so I'm going to take more. I can't take money, it's not there. There's points, resources, or ads. Got a lot of ads. I'm just going to take a point. Let's take a point, why not? Okay, no goals to complete for us, so over to Rachel. She's going to advance her ship, so she's going into a destination space now. So she is going to drop off her token in the leftmost space of the current destination. So she's going to drop this off in the leftmost orange space. Then all of her customers are going to score points based on this. So she doesn't have to pay any resources to entice them for it. She just gets the points straight up. So she's going to go 3 plus 1 for this, 4 points for both of her customers. So that's 8 points. That puts her on to 25 points. Okay, now her main action. She has a worker, so she's going to flip a card to see what she does. She's going to send her worker to the bottom middle space, which bumps us off. That sends us back to here, giving us a bonus. So we're going to take another point for it. Why not? And then she wants to gain resources from the silo. So how this works for her is, again, using the numbering system. So 5 first. She's going to look at what cards are left over in this section here and reduce resources relating to the resource printed on the card. So she's looking for 5. There isn't a 5. It only goes up to 4, so she'll go to 4 instead. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no card there, so we're going to wrap around until we go and find one. So this is fuel, and it just so happens both of them are fuel. So we're going to reduce fuel by 3 spaces, essentially. 1, 2, 3. And that's how the silo action works for Rachel. Now her worker is adjacent to the silo action, but she's not connected to it by one of her developments, so she does not take a bonus action. Okay, now it's over to us. We might go on a cruise. Yes, so we're going to go on a cruise. Launch our ship. But first of all, we take the cruise, add it to the top of our ship. We're going to add it to this one here. Oops, knocked all my ships out of whack there. We'll add it to the top of that one. And we're going to return our worker back up there. And then we're bringing our guests. We've pre-booked 2 guests and we have 2 cabins so they can go in there. T-4, we're going to add a cube from our supply into the progress track. T-3, we have to pay our resources. So food is going to cost us 3 food because we've got 2 customers plus 1 for our pilot. That costs us 1, 2, 3 food. We have put 3 segments, so that's going to cost us 1, 2, 3 oxygen. And the journey is going to cost us 2 fuel, but we get 1 fewer fuel because of the technology we've got. So we just need to spend 1 fuel, and we've paid all the resources. Okay, next T-2, we're going to score points for our cockpit and flip it over. So we'll flip it over. We're going to score 1 point for every segment we've built so far, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 points, taking us to 11. T-1, we'll take our upgrade token that we flipped, add it to our engine. And then T-0, we'll send the guy into the cockpit, and then we're going to bring out a new cruise and refill the queue. So we have revealed one with all 3 icons, so all 3 customers would move down. We only have purple in the queue, so they move down to that section there. Then we're going to add new customers. So we took 2 customers on a cruise, so we're adding 2 customers. And the colors we're going to add are always, if there are multiple colors on the cruise we just revealed, they will always go from left to right. So we're going to add 1 purple and 1 orange into the queue. So 1 purple up there and 1 orange. And that is our turn done. We have not completed any of the goals yet. So over to Rachel. Rachel's going to advance. She has reached the end of the cruise and is returning home. And this is just a case of returning the worker back to the break room, giving her a point for the bonus. Customers go back to the supply, and cruise is discarded out of the game. Then she's going to take her action. Now she has a worker in the break room. She's going to flip a card. She's going to send that worker to the top left. She's going to bump the green guy out and clockwise over there. Then she wants to hire an expert worker as long as it costs 7 or less. So this worker is going to cost her 369. She can't do that one. This one's going to cost 2468. She can't do that one either. So she's moving on to the next one, which is to build a development on the network this time. So she's going to build a development. She's looking at space number 1, which is this space, but that doesn't give a reputation. She always wants to get reputation if possible, so she goes clockwise until she finds one with reputation, which is this space here. That gives her 1 reputation, and she's built the development. The space she went to is here, which is not connected to the build a development action, so she's not getting a bonus action this turn. Over to us. So we're going to advance our cruise there. We are spending a day in space. So when we spend a day in space, our customers all go to the rooms that they are associated with. So we have 3 blue rooms. So each of these customers is going to every one of those rooms. So essentially we're going to get these 3 things multiplied by 2. And what the blue workers give us are ads. So that's 6 ads we're going to get from them. We are flush with ads right now. So let's call a meeting, return this guy here. Now we've uncovered this, we can get the bonus of 2 money, which I think we're going to take because we've got loads of ads. So we're going to take 2 money for that bonus, and then we get to take an action. Yeah, let's take the reserve a cruise action. We're going to take this guy and send him down here to this one. Then we get to flip a token. I'm going to flip the resource one. I'm going to gain a resource. Let's gain some oxygen. So over to Rachel. They have no workers, so they're going to call a meeting. So brings both of their workers back. there and there. She gets 2 points for that. She doesn't get her bonus action, so that's her turn finished. Over to us, we're going to advance our cruise. So we've reached a blue destination. So if we want to entice blue customers to a blue destination, it's only cost us 1 ad for each of them. So we're going to spend 2 ads to do both customers. We'll add our token to the track here. Now, we have 3 different abilities that we could unlock. So what they are is, first ability is, every time I gain reputation, I will also gain the bonus associated to the space I cross over. So it's another way of me getting resources, which is quite nice. The second ability is that when I use a card, an agenda card, I will get access to the resource as well as the ability that is printed on a card, which is, again, really nice. The third ability is that I can bump my own workers off the board, which usually you're not allowed to do. They're all very good. I think what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take the first one. So every time I increase my reputation, I'm going to get access, get resources equal to whatever I cross over, which is pretty good. And then I'm going to score points. So they're worth 4 points for each customer. Each customer. So that's 8 points for both of them together, taking me to 19 points. So that's my ship. Now I get to take an action. Okay, do I want to entice customers now and get resources at the same time? I think so. I'll add my worker here. First action is I'm going to advertise. So I'll advertise for my cruise that I've reserved. Spend 4 ads to bring in the 2 purple customers there. And bring both of these guys in. Oh wait, they go there, sorry. And then so now there are 3 destinations on this cruise. Multiplied by my 2 workers gets me 6 money. Nice way of getting a bit of income there. And then there are 2 purples for the 1 purple destination. They both give me 2 reputation. So I guess 2 reputation total for both of them. And that's put me across 1 ad and 1 money. So I get 1 ad and 1 money for the ability that I unlocked on my cruise just now. And then my second action, going to be gaining resources, I think, from the silo. So I'm going to gain 2 food, and let's gain a fuel as well. That's the end of my turn. I have not completed any goals yet. So over to Rachel. She has workers, so we're going to flip a card. She's going to the top middle section. She's going up here, which bumps that green worker over to there. Then she wants to take 2 agenda cards. And there's only 2 agenda cards available, so she's literally just going to discard both of those. And she is not connected to that action, so she doesn't get to take a bonus action there. No goals completed, so back to us. We have to call them, well, sorry, let's advance our ship first. We're coming home. So customers back to supply. Worker back to our break room. We're going to take 2 money. And the cruise is going to be discarded. Then we're going to call we don't have to call a meeting now. We've got this worker out. I'm going to send this worker up here. I'm going to get 2 blueprints first. I want this purple and orange one. Let's go for the observation deck. And then we're going to refill that. And that. Now I can also build an upgrade, build a development, or get a 3rd worker. So this worker is going to cost me 2, 4, 6, 8 because of the developments I've got so far. So there's 3 there, plus the 5 for 8. I'm going to unlock this expert worker. That puts him here. And I get the bonus, which is going to be 2 more money. Now I have an expert worker. Each expert worker comes with a special ability, which is printed in the middle of the board here. And what this expert worker says for this game is that if I use my expert worker to bump another player's worker, I also get to take one of my bonuses from these upgrade tiles. That's the end of my turn. Now we're going over to Rachel. She has a worker, so we'll flip a card, see what she does. She's going to send her worker to the bottom right, which is a green worker, which moves him clockwise and is going to bump my worker back to here. And I'm going to take 2 more money again. Okay. And the action they want is to take 2 more agenda cards. There are no agenda cards to take, so they're going to take the refill agenda cards action instead. Now, she only takes this action if the agenda bonus is visible, which it is. So she's going to gain the 1 reputation. Reputation, sorry. And then if there were cards left in the column, she would discard them all and refill, but there aren't, so she's just going to refill it instead. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So she sent her worker to the bottom right, which is adjacent and connected to that action. So she's going to take a bonus action now. So we're going to flip a card, and she wants to hire a worker as long as it costs her 7 money or less. So this one is costing her 369. This one now is only costing 246. So she's going to hire her expert worker, which gives her a 1 point bonus for being added to the break room. Okay, no goals completed for her yet, so over to us now. We're going to use our expert worker to bump off Rachel's worker there. So she's going to bump off here and get a point, but we also get, because we use our expert worker to bump, we get access to one of our bonuses, and I'm going to take 2 money again. A lot of money here. Then I'm going to build a development, so I'm going to spend 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to build this fuel development because I need that access to those resources. Where do I want to build my development? I think I'm going to build another technology and make it cheaper food-wise when I'm sending people on a cruise. Or do I do targeted advertising instead, actually? Yeah, I'm going to switch it, actually do targeted advertising. And what this does for me is it's going to cost me 1 less ad when I'm trying to bring customers into a cruise. So that I quite like that. And it gives me a reputation at the same time, which lets me gain a resource. And I will gain some food. Since food is empty over there, might be worth doing. That was my first action, was to build a development. My second action, using my connection, I'm going to do the pay for resources here. I'm going to play the loyalty program at the same time. So I get to pay 1 money and 1 money only, and I gain 3 resources and 3 ads instead of what's listed there. So that's quite nice. I'm going to get 3 resources, which is going to be 1 oxygen and 2 fuel. And I also get 3 ads. And that is me done. Rachel's turn. So she has workers. We're going to flip a card. This is the last one of the deck. So what we're going to do is keep this out so we know what action she's taking. We're just going to flip over the deck, the discard pile, so we have access to the back of that card. So she's sending her worker, which is, she's always going to send her expert workers out first. Not that it matters on this one. She's sending it to the bottom left, so she's going there. And then she wants to take the gain resources action from the silo. So we're going to look at the cards over here and use resources depending on what cards that we've got there. So she's looking at cards in slot 6. There is no slot 6. She's looking in slot 1. So she's going to get rid of an oxygen, then another oxygen, then a food. So 1, 2 oxygen. She can't get rid of food, so she's going to keep going until she can get rid of something else. So back to another oxygen. So 3 oxygen gone. And that's her action complete. She was sent down here, which is not next to the action, so no bonus action. I've just realized we've got a ship here that we haven't filled. Let's fill that ship up. Okay. Over to us then. I think we might just call a meeting early. Yeah, I'm going to call a meeting. So we're going to bring these people back. That gives me 2 bonuses, so I'm going to take 4 money. Let's put this one back and get a 5. Then I get to take an action, and the action I'm going to take is I can't take the build thing action because I'm not connected to it. So let's take let's just take the refill the silo action, I think. Yeah, let's refill the silo. So I'm going to discard a card. I'm going to discard this marketing blitz. Refill the food, which gives me 5 money. And a reputation, which also gives me an extra 1 money. Lovely. Okay, that's my turn done. Over to Rachel. She has a worker, so let's see where they're going. Oh, sorry. We should have reshuffled this at the end of the last turn because she went through her deck. So let's quickly reshuffle that. Okay, let's see where she's going. So she's sending worker to the bottom middle, which bumps this guy. She's not allowed to bump her own worker, so that just goes clockwise to the next empty space. Then she's going to hire a worker. She's already hired 1 worker, so now she's only going to hire a worker if it costs her 4 or less. This worker is going to cost her 369, so she can't hire a worker. So now she's going to build a development instead into the network. She's looking for one that ideally has reputation, but all the reputation spaces have been taken up, so she's just going to go via her number system, which is a 5. Starting from the top left, she's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Building her development in there. And that's her action done. She hasn't quite finished her goal there yet. So over to us. So what we're going to do is bump this guy off here, sending them back to the board here, getting a point. And because I bumped with my expert worker, I get to take one of my income bonuses, and I'm going to get 2 more money. And then I'm going to take the build segment action, and I want to build these 2, which is going to cost me 6 money altogether. I'll spend 5, 6 money to build the botanical gardens and the karaoke into this ship here. Actually, then purple workers, I want to build these into the other ship. And build them into this ship here instead. Keep that for blue and orange. In order to complete this middle goal, we need to have 2 sets of each color, essentially. So I have blue, orange, purple, blue, orange, purple. So I've completed that middle goal there. So at the end of my turn, I will sort that out. But I still have another action to take. Yep, I'm going to build 2 more segments. So I'm going to build this observation deck, which cost me 1 money. That's going to spend that there. I'm going to place the observation deck into my middle ship here. That goes there. Now, what I didn't explain again in the explanation of the rules at the beginning is that when you take the build segments action, you can build from your supply of blueprints, but you can also build straight from the main supply of blueprints. But that's going to cost you more money, and it's going to cost you reputation. So I want to build this cocktail corner. It cost me 5 just for the blueprint itself, but then I also have to pay the cost associated with the space I'm building from. It's going to cost me an extra 3 money, so it's going to cost me 8 money altogether, and it cost me 1 reputation. But that is okay, I think. I'm going to spend all 8 of my money there, and spend 1 reputation, and I'm going to build the cocktail corner, and that's going to go into my far left ship there, the purple and orange one. That's going there. So I've done my 2 actions. Now we see if I've completed a goal, which I have, because I have got 3 sets or 2 sets of the colors. So I'm going to take my cube associated with that, add it into the progress tracker, and advance that token now up there. Not that that matters really for a solo game, because they have their own personal goals that they're trying to complete. I just want to complete these before they complete their goals, ideally. So it makes it easier for me. But that's the end of my turn. But now, at the end of my turn, because we've filled the first section of the progress track, we're going to trigger an annual general meeting. So Rachel has 1 cube in there. She's not highest on the reputation track, so she just has 1 cube. Now, I might have misexplained in the rules is that we all start with 1 wing symbol, which is on the left-hand side here. So she has access to one wing symbol for multiplied by her 1 cube for 1 point. So 1 point for Rachel. I have 2 cubes in there, plus 1 for being the highest on the reputation track. So that's 3 cubes multiplied by my 2 wing symbols for 6 points. That puts me on 25 points. And that's the first annual general meeting complete there. Now, because we're playing a 2-player or solo game, we're going to add extra workers and developments onto the board, neutral ones. So what we're going to do is replace one of the neutral workers with an expert worker, and they work a little bit differently when bumping. And we get to add I'm going to add 3, of their development tokens as well. So the worker we're going to replace is always the worker closest to the top middle section going clockwise. So this worker here is going to be replaced by an expert worker. And then we're going to reveal the top tile of this deck here, and it tells us sort of on the back where we're going to put the development tokens. So we're going to put 1 development token into this tech here. We're going to put 1 development token into this section, and we're going to put 1 development token into this section. And why that's relevant is because, again, this wasn't explained in the rules at the start, but when you're paying to use people's developments, you have to pay for every development that's in the sector. So if I am here now and I wanted to use this action, I would have to pay all 3 of these developments because I don't have one there myself. So that's why it's necessary to be adding these extra developments on the tile for the neutral player. But that's the end of my turn. Okay, so over to Rachel now. So she has a worker left. We'll flip a card for her, and she is going to the top right, which bumps this worker, moving it clockwise, not being able to bump any of Rachel's, so bumps me off instead, giving me some bonuses. I'll take some money since I have none. And then the action they want to take is to get resources from the silo. So looking at the number, they want number 3, so they're going to go 1, 2, 3. They're going to remove a food, then another food, and then loop back around to the top to remove an oxygen. So they went to the top right, which is connected to the action they took. So they're going to get a bonus one, flipping a card, and they want to take 2 of the agenda cards. So we're looking at slot number 4 first. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4. That gets discarded, and we loop back around to the top, and then that one gets discarded. Okay, over to us. What are we doing next? 1 more blueprint. I think we might just go and do that. Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to use my expert worker to bump this guy, which lets us get one of those bonuses. We'll take 2 more money again. Now, it doesn't bump its own one, and this, because it's an expert worker, the difference between this one is it doesn't never stop on blank spaces. So it's always going to bump something. So it goes clockwise and is going to bump off Rachel's worker there, bringing them back to there, giving them a point. And then I'm going to take the build blueprint action. I should have refilled this. What can I afford? I've got 4 money. I'm going to lose reputation to gain an extra money because I only have 4 money. So I'm going to lose reputation, lose 2 reputation to go past the 1 money mark. So that's 5 money. So 1 there plus these 4. 5 money plus a reputation loss will get me this that I can build straight into this ship here. That is all 3 of my ships fully built. Actually, I didn't need to lose that reputation. I just needed to lose the 1, because what I'm going to do is use the early bird when placing my worker. If it's the only worker on the board, which it is, I get 4 money. So I'll get 3 of it because 1 of them I would have spent to build that blueprint. I think I'm just going to spend 1 money because I'm this far up on the track. It's only cost me 1 money to use a development. So I'm going to press 1 money to use that development, and I'm going to take the gain resources action here and just spend 1 money to get 2 extra ads. That's the end of my turn. I've got no goal completed, I believe. Nope, not yet.
So we are done. Over to Rachel, who has a worker again. So we're going to flip another card. She's going to the bottom right. Can't go there. She already has a worker there. So she's going to go clockwise until she finds one. Bumps me off. And I'm going to take 2 money again for that. And then the action she wants to take, again, is to take resources out of the silo. So we only got oxygen and food here. We have no oxygen, so she's basically just going to take 3 food out of the silo. And she ends up going here, which is not connected to that particular action, so no bonus action for her, and no goal completed, so back to us. Now we are going to launch a ship. So let's go over here and start launching. So we're going to take the cruise, add that to the top of this ship, and we're going to bring our customers over and add them into their cabins. Then we'll go to add a cube from our personal supply to the tracker there. Then we're going up again to pay our resources, so it's going to cost us food. We pay 1 less. No, we don't. We didn't unlock that upgrade, actually. Sorry. Food is going to cost us 3. 2 customers plus 1 captain for 3. We've got 3 segments for 3 fuel, and it costs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fuel to go on the trip. We have 1 discount, so it's only cost us 4 fuel. All our resources spent. Up again, we're going to score our cockpit and flip it. So let's flip it now, and we're going to score 4 points for every ship that has 3 or more segments in it. I have 3 ships with 3 segments or more in it, so that's 4, 8, 12 points, putting me on 37 points. Next step, we will add the upgrade token to the engine of our ship. Final step, into the cockpit, and we are going to reveal a new cruise. Oh, he should have gone back up there. So orange and purple are what's been revealed, so orange and purple will move down in the queue. And then we added 2 customers into our cruise, so we're going to get 1 more orange worker and 1 more purple worker. Okay, still haven't completed another objective yet, so that's the end of our turn. Now we're going over to Rachel, who doesn't have any workers left. So she's going to do a call a meeting action. So she's calling back 1, 2, 3 workers, getting her 3 points. And no bonus action, so that is her done. Back to us, we'll advance our ship. We have come to a purple destination. So we have the option now, since there are more than 1 destination on this trip, we have the option of which destination we drop off our upgrade token at. So we want to drop it off at a different destination because that will unlock this this bonus here. Let's complete this goal, sorry. The purple abilities we've got is when we launch, we can spend 2 reputation to increase our guest capacity by 1. So we can take 3 guests on a ship rather than just 2. This one is whenever we gain reputation, we gain an extra 1, which is okay. And this one is one of our regular workers gains the expert worker ability, which I'm not too fussed about. Or we go to orange, which is we immediately gain a funding bonus for every cube that we have on the progress track, and then every time we add a cube, we get the bonus as well. This one means that we immediately gain the bonus of an upgrade token and remove it from the launch tower. It's just a way of removing a token straight away from the tower, which is okay. Or we can increase our ship capacity and get 4 ships that can all be built with 4 segments. I think I like the orange ones better. I think I'm going to go wait for the orange one. So I'm not going to drop off the upgrade token here. But we do get to try and entice them onto an excursion. So we're going to spend, we have 2 customers. We're at the purple destination, so they only cost 1 each. So we'll spend 2 ads and we'll score 3 points each. So that's 6 points. Putting this on 43 points. Okay, then we get to take our regular action. Want some more money? I might go and reserve another cruise. What ship have I got? Orange and purple, orange and blue, or blue. Yeah, let's do another ship. let's do another cruise. So what are we going to do? Let's go here. I'm going to reserve a cruise over here. I'm going to do this orange and purple one, I think. I don't think I need to get on the blue one. Yeah, let's do the orange and purple one there. I get to flip a token. I'm going to flip this grey one down here and get 4 money straight away. So this is a one-off bonus. It just gets me 4 money. Let's put this one back and get a 5. Just because I want money mainly. And then I am going to spend... No, that's it. That's all I'm doing there. I'm going to, for my second action, going to advertise. So I am going to spend 4 ads, 3, 4, to bring over both of these guys. There's 2 destinations and 2 workers. That gets me 4 money. Customers, sorry, guests, not workers. And they both match destinations, so we get 2 reputation, giving me a resource and a money. Take a money there, and I'll take a resource there. Alright, and that's my 2 actions done. So over to Rachel. They have workers, so we're going to flip a card. They want to go to the bottom left. They send their worker out there. Then they're going to hire an expert worker if they cost 4 or less. They don't still, because they still cost them 9 to get that one. So they're going to development onto the network. And they're looking at sector 6 because there's no reputation spaces left. So they're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They already have one there, so they're going to keep going clockwise, and they're going to place one there. So we'll check the board to see if they're connected to the action they took, which they're not, because it's up there, so no bonus action. We check the goals. They have now placed the development tile underneath this token, so they have completed this goal. So that can come away. And this goal relates to the left. This is the upgrade one, so that relates to this goal here. So they're going to remove their cube out of that slot, put it up there. And they're going to make this move up. So now we need to build 7 of our developments in order to be able to complete that goal on the end there. And that's their turn finished. We're going to advance our cruise. We're off to orange destination now. So we are going to drop off our token. And I think we're going to make it so we can build a 4th ship. I'm going to make some space here. I'm going to build it up there when I get the chance to do so. Let's make some space there. We can build 4 ships and have 4 segments in each ship. With that, okay, now we're going to entice people. So it's going to cost us 2 ads per person because they don't match the destination. So it's going to cost us 4 ads to get both of them to score. And they score 4 points each for 8 points. 46 to 51. There we go. We need to get some more ads before we get to the blue destination if we want them to score. And then we get to take our actions. We've got an expert worker to send out. Get some blueprints. Oh, that blueprint supply is not full. Could possibly do both things. I'm going to go there. This bumps the green person. He's a regular worker, so he's just going to go to the next empty space. I'm going to take 2 blueprints. What's worth the most points? I'm going to take this one. There's the 5D cinema. And I'm gonna... I guess it doesn't really matter what else I do, so let's just take another... Let's take the double one, just in case. I'm going to refill this. And then for my second action, I think I'm going to use my development to place another development. So I'm going to spend 6 money. And I'm going to build a development, just take it out of the fuel. I'm going to place that development. I'm going to put it up there, make our food, make it cheaper to send the cruise up again with food. And that's the end of my turn. 2 actions. I'll check to see if I've completed a goal. I now have. This goal is to have 1 upgrade token on 2 different locations. I have them on 2 different locations, so that is finished. That moves up. Get to add my cube to the progress track, and we are triggering another annual meeting. So let's go to scoring. We don't assess the whole track. It's only this section that we're assessing for the annual meeting scoring. So Rachel has 1 cube. She's not the highest on the track, so it's just the 1 cube multiplied by the 2 wings that she has for 2 points. I have 1, 2 plus 1 for being the highest, 3 times my 3 wings for 9 points. Putting me on 60 points. That's the end of my turn. Over to Rachel, who has workers. So we'll flip a card. She's going to the top left, which is going to bump me out. Putting me back there. I'm going to take 2 money. Rachel's turn. She wants to advertise a cruise. Okay. She's just going to select a cruise based on the number. That's number 1. Will be this one, but they've already got customers, so she's going to advertise for this one instead. And she's going to get customers equal to the destinations. So she's going to remove this guy, add them there. And because there's no more purple, she's just going to take the second purple from the supply. And that's going to gain her 2 reputation. That's her action done. So she placed a worker up here, which is not connected to the action she took, so no bonus action. So back to us. Let's advance our cruise. We are spending a day in space now, so our purple, we've got 2 purple workers going to the purple rooms. We've got 3 purple rooms, so that's 6 purple bonuses, which is 6 resources. Lovely. So we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to get food and oxygen. Actually, I'll bring an oxygen down and put 1 up on fuel just in case. That was our advancement there. We went and spent a day in space, so now we get to take an action, and we are going to go up here to get some cards. We'll bump this guy off. He's the expert, so it doesn't stop at blank spaces, so he's going to bump this guy off. Giving her a point. And I get to take one of my bonus actions. I'm going to get 2 resources and fill up some fuel. And then I'm going to first draw 2 cards. I'm going to take these 2 cards that are there. And then I'm going to refill it. So get all these bonuses. So I get 1 reputation, which gives me a resource. I get an ad. I get a money. And I get another resource. Will be my fuel. And then we're going to refill it. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Over to Rachel, who is going to flip a card. Whoops. She's sending a worker to the top right, which is going to bump me out. I get to take another bonus. I'm going to take an ad, because then that will let me have enough ads to send people off on a trip on my next turn. She is going to try and launch. So she's going to launch the ship as long as it's got 2 segments or more. So they're going to launch this ship here. So the first thing she's going to do, based on the number system, she's going to take a cruise. She wants cruise number 3, which is she can't take because that's my one. So she goes to the next one down and takes this cruise, putting it above this ship. And then she's going to fill it with customers. So because there were no customers that had pre-bought tickets there, she's going to have to sell now instead, and she wants a blue worker, then a purple worker, then an orange worker from the queue. How we're going to do this is we look at the bottom section first and add customers to from there to the cruise if we can. We can't, so we go up to the next section. We can't, we go up to the next section. Then if there were multiple ones, we would go from left to right according to the cruise as to which ones get added first. But there's only the orange one. An orange one does want to go there, so an orange worker is going to get added to this cruise. And there's none left, so we're going to go to the supply, and we start left to right, so a blue customer is going to get added as the second customer there. The next step is that she's going to place one of her personal cubes into the progress track. Then she's going to pay her resources, again, which is just the fuel. So this cruise is going to cost 5 fuel, but she only has access to 2. So she's going to pay that 2, and the difference then is made up with reputation. So she has to pay 3 reputation to be able to pay for that fuel. Then she's going to score the cockpit, which is 1 point per segment. And again, she's still only got 4 segments, so that's 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then she's going to move an upgrade, which is always one of the grey ones at the bottom, so she'll move an upgrade token into there, load it up, and then it's time for liftoff. So her worker goes from here into the cockpit, and we're going to refill the cruise. So we'll get a new cruise out. This is going to, would move any orange workers down in the queue, but there aren't any. She has added 2 guests into her cruise, so 2 more are coming out, and they will both have to be orange since that's the only destination on the new cruise there. And that's the end of her turn. She has not completed any of her goals, so over to us. We'll advance our cruise, move into the blue destination. We got no token to drop off, so we just go straight into scoring. So if we want to send both of these to the blue destination, which we do, it's going to cost us 2 ads each. So that's 4 ads. That scores 4 points because we have a token there, so that's 4 points per. That's 8 points, giving us 68 points. Okay, now we go to our turn. Yeah, let's go there. I'm going to bump this green worker with my expert worker, so he goes up here and bumps Rachel's worker, going back for a point. I get to use one of my bonuses because I use my expert worker to bump. Let's get some ads going because I'm going to be going on another cruise soon. I'm going to take a new ship. Yeah, I think I'm going to take this top one. Put that up here. So that is going to give me an income bonus and 2 points. So I get the 2 points. I'll take a bonus and get another ad. And then this is also going to score 3 points for every token that I've flipped or removed from my launch tower. Okay, so that's the first action. Let's refill our ship. And then my second action, I'm going to build 2 segments. It's going to cost me 5, 6. Oh my gosh, can't pick it up. 6, 7, and 8. Build both of these, and they are both going to go into this new ship. Pool deck and a 5D cinema. Sounds great. Okay. No goal completed, so that's over to Rachel, who has a worker. So we'll flip a card. She's going to the top middle section, which knocks green off, not there, but into there. Because actually we forgot to add more on. So this now should be a expert worker who is going to go there and bump me off now. I'll take another ad. And we should add some more of their developments, and they are going to go there. They're already there. They're just going to go clockwise and there. That's that. So she's gone out there. Now she's going to take the build segments action. So she wants number 2. So she's going to build this one and the one below it. And that is going to trigger her second completed goal. She has now built 6 segments. So first of all, let's check to see if they are connected to the action. They're not, so no bonus action. So they have done this middle one, adding their cube to the top there. All right, it's going to be game end soon. So over to me, we'll return home. So we'll get a worker back, giving me another ad. And then these guys go back to the supply. And we'll put that back. I'm going to send a worker here. I'm going to do this action twice. So I'm going to discard 2 cards from my hand. And refill both of these to the top, giving me 2 reputation, which gives me an ad and a money. And I filled 2 to the top from the bottom, so that gets me 5 each. 10 more money. That is me done. Over to Rachel, who has no workers left. Oh, actually we need to advance her cruise first. Cruise advances, she's gone to a blue destination. They will always drop off their upgrade at their first destination, so they are dropping off at a blue destination. Putting it there. And all of their guests always score. So 2 guests, they're at a blue destination, so that's 4 points each, so 8 points for Rachel. 1, 2, 3, 52. So they've advanced their ship. Now they're going to call a meeting because they got no workers left. This worker is coming back to the board there, and as is this one, and they're going to score 2 points from that. Yeah, I'm going to go and get some cards. I'm going to draw 2 cards. I'm going to draw this one, and I'm going to get this one as my 2 cards. Then I'm going to refill them for my second action. A reputation and a money from that. I'm going to refill. Also, as part of my turn, I'm going to play this strategic relationship. I can play at any time, doesn't have an action associated with it. On my turn, I can spend 1 reputation to gain 3 money and do this up to 3 times. So I'm going to spend 1, 2, 3 reputation. That gets me 9 money. Put 1 back and get 10. And that is that. Okay. Over to Rachel. They have workers, so let's flip. They send in a worker to the top middle, which is free. And then they're going to draw cards. They're going to draw the second card and the one below it. Discard them, not draw them. They don't keep cards. Oh, they didn't advance their ship, which they should have done. So they were in open space to start their turn with, so they're just going to get 1 reputation for each guest. So that's 2 guests on the ship, they get 2 reputation. Okay, now it's over to us. We've got no ships to advance. Got no workers to send out, so we're going to call a meeting. So we got 1, 2, and 3 back. I'm going to get 2 more ads and I get 2 money as well. 2 ads and 2 money. And then we're going to take an action next to one of our things. We're going to take the blueprint action, and I'm going to take these 2 here. There and there. Refill this. Lay that down. Refill this. That's the end of my turn. Over to them. Flip a card. They go on top left, which bumps this guy off. There's nobody else to bump, so they're just going to go to the next blank space. And they want to launch a ship, which is going to trigger the end of the game. Because they want to launch a ship that's got 3 or more segments in which this ship does. So first off, they're going to take a cruise based on the number system. So they're going to take the first cruise. So this one gets taken and added up there, bringing along those customers with it. Then they're going to add a progress cube. They've completely filled up that top one. They're going to pay their resources. This is only going to cost them 2 fuel, which they have access to, so nothing extra to be done there. They're going to score their cockpit now. This cockpit scores them 3 points for every set of colours that they have. So they have only 1 blue, so they're only going to score 3 points from that. And they flipped it over. Quick correction, I've just realised that when they launch their ships, when they score their cockpits, they also score the points for all the segments in their ship. I'm fairly sure that both ships have been launched fully loaded with 3 segments, and this ship has been launched twice. So I'm just going to add points on equal to twice the segments on this one and once the segment on this one. So that's 3, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15, 16 points. They should be up a little bit more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 63 to 73. There we are. That's better. So we scored the cockpit now. Then we're going to load up. We're going to take this token, add it to the engine, and we have liftoff. And we don't have anybody left in the break room to add to the ship for the cockpit, so they just we're going to take the one that they sent out onto the board and add that as their captain. No goal completed for her, but we have now filled up section 3 of the progress track. So when the game end is triggered, we don't score this yet. We're going to finish out the game and we'll score that at the end of the game. So because the game end has been triggered, what we do first is we finish out that round, which we have because Rachel went second, so she was last in the round, so she's finished her round. So she's finished off the round for us. And then we all both get to play one more turn each, and then we'll go into final scoring and everything. Okay, so we've only got one turn left. Now when it comes to final scoring, we're going to play around. We've done that. For our last turn, actually, we all get to return our workers if they are on the board and gain the bonuses for it. So she gets a point from that. That's not a point, that's a point. I already have my workers back, so I'm not going to get anything from that. After we've taken this one last turn, we are allowed to advance anybody on our that is currently on a cruise to any space that we want. So is it worth me? Is it going to be more points for me to send a cruise up now? Or is it going to be worth more points to me to try and build my last couple of upgrades? Not upgrades. My last few developments. Now, you know what? I think I'm going to take the action and go and build some developments. I'm going to build 2 developments, which will cost me 6, 13 money. 5, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm going to build 2 developments, this one and this one. And it doesn't really matter where I put them, so I'm just going to put one there and one there. There. I have now built 7 developments, which is this goal complete. So this is going to go up there. And that is the end of my turn and the end of my game. So let's head over to Rachel for their last turn. I'll flip a card, go to the bottom left, down there. They want to take cards. They're just going to take these 2 cards and discard them. And they're not connected to the action, so no bonus action. That's the end of the game. So now we get to advance. Oh, sorry. She should have advanced this for the start of her turn. So she's going to get 2 reputation for a day in space with this ship. And then they're going to advance to a purple stop. And they're just going to score maximum points. Purple only scores them 3 points per guest. So that's 6 points. There. Now for the end of the round, they get to advance all of their cruises to whatever destination they wish and activate it. They're always going to go do the one that scores on the most points, but there's only one destination left on each of them anyway, so they're both going to advance destinations. They're both going to score points. So this guy's gone to orange. Orange is with 4 points each, so that's 8 points for those guys. 83, 88. And they've gone to a purple destination, which is 3 points, so another 6 points. 89 to 94. Okay, that's the end of that. Now we're just going on to final scoring. Okay, now I hadn't explained how endgame scoring works, so I'll just run through that quickly. There's a little diagram up here showing us what we're going to do. So, the end of the game, for us at least, it'll be slightly different for Rachel. We are going to add up all of our resources, essentially, like literally everything, including cards, resources on your board, money, and ads. And then we're going to divide that number by 3, and that's how many points we get for that. Next, we're going to score the end of annual meeting as we normally would. Then we are going to score our reputation, depending on how high we are on the reputation track. You can score 3, 8, or 15 points, depending on where you finished on there. Then we're going to score our segments in all of our ships. So we'll just literally get the points that we've got for the segments that we built. Then we're going to score our cockpits again as well. So all of our cockpits will score, and we'll get the -5 points for any that we didn't send into space. And then the last thing is we're going to score points for every column that we have managed to empty of developments. So that's how we score. Then we'll go on to Rachel for her scoring. She doesn't score supplies like we do because she doesn't have any, no resources and stuff, so she doesn't do that. So she's going to score her progress scoring next. So she has 3 cubes on there, and she's got 3 wings showing. She doesn't get the bonus 1 for the reputation track, so that's 9 points. Putting them on 103. Then the next scoring is their reputation, and they've got past 8 points there, so they're going to get 8 points from that. Putting them on 111. Then she's going to score all of her ship segments. So she's got 1, 2, 5, 6, 9, 11 points. Putting them on 122. Then she's going to score all of her developments like we normally would, but she hasn't emptied any of the columns, so she doesn't get any points for that. And finally, she's going to score all of her cockpits. So this one scores 1 point for every segment. She's now got 6 segments for 6 points. And then 128. Got the 100 points. We'll put that up there as a reminder. And then this cockpit is going to score 3 points for every set. She's only got the 1 set, so that's 3 points. So now over to our final scoring. We're going to score all of our supplies. So that's money, resources, ads, cards, and blueprints. So we have 5, 10, 11 money, 14, 18, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 divided by 3 is 10 points. We round down. 10 points puts us on 80 points. Next up, we're scoring our progress. We've got 1 cube there, plus 1 for being highest on the rep. So that's 2 cubes multiplied by our 4 wings for 8 points. 88. Then we're scoring our reputation. We managed to get the 8 points from that, putting this on 96. Then we're going to score our segments. So we've got 1, 4, 7, 10, 11, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20, 23. 1, 2, 3, 99. Putting this on 119. Our 100-point marker up there. Now we're scoring our cockpits. So this is going to score us 3 points for every token that we've got rid of or flipped. So that's 3, 6, 9 points, but minus the 5 because we didn't launch it. So that's 4 points. This ship is scoring 3 points for every ship that has 3 or more segments in it. This one doesn't, so it's just 3, 6, 9 points for that. Putting this on 132. Then this cockpit is going to score us 4 points for every different ship that we launched. We only launched 2 ships, so that's 8 points, but minus the 5 because we didn't launch that one is 3 points. And then finally, this is 1 point for every segment we've built. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 points. Taking this to 146. And then finally, we'll score our developments. We emptied 2 columns, so that's 15 points. 3, 4, 5, 151 to 161. And there's our final score, 161 to 131. We managed to beat them quite handily there at the end of the game. And that's how you play the solo version of Galactic Cruise. It's a really fun game. Love the action selection. Love the being able to plan out and build certain ships in certain ways to try and convince different customers to score maximum points there. It's really, really fun game. Really fun game. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the game. Let me know of any mistakes I made. I'm sure I made quite a few in this one. But hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you on the next video. Catch you later.